Okay, calm down.
What are your thoughts on what we just saw?
If one came in from another planet and just listened to it and didn't know anything about the last 2 years or the last 50 years, then it would sound pretty damn good if you would exclude like 1/3 of it was just jingoistic stuff one way or the other. But I think it's the contrast between his actual record and what he was espousing. I do take the point that the less likely it is Congress to enact some of the best stuff that he was advocating, the more vehement he has tended to seem to be. The last part of the speech was horrible. The militarism and the disguising U.S. imperial military desires as some sort of national security. I mean, that is just so dangerous.
Medea, what do you think?
Oh, I would quote the great Greta Thunberg saying, blah, blah, blah. You know, heard it all before, heard it in the last State of the Union. Sounds like the same old stuff. And I guess it was good that he didn't talk too much about Ukraine, because it would have been even worse to hear him talk more about that. U.S. defense of democracy around the world is so ridiculous when you think of what the U.S. gives to Israel every year and what the U.S. Has been doing to supply the bombs to Saudi Arabia to kill the people in Yemen, and the almost $2 billion we give every year to Egypt, and on and on and on. So that, supporting democracy around the world stuff just doesn't go over very well with me. And yeah, I guess like Norman said, I mean, when they had control of Congress and could have done this stuff, it would have been nice. And instead they wait till they can't do it to then talk about what they want to do, knowing that they can't do it.
Among many of the things that, just to put it mildly, sticks in the moral craw is about the, who knows, sincere compassion for children and those who are suffering from egregious illnesses. And you just think of Yemen for starters. I mean, what is the double think going on here that if somebody is a U.S. citizen, then it is just so important and painful, which it is when a child is suffering, dies, elderly, are left to wither away from lack of health care or nutrition. And then meanwhile, fist bump, the guy who's leading the way to slaughter people in Yemen.
Right. Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, right?
Yeah, and then all this stuff about Buy American, and our manufacturing sector is back again. Of course, what I think of is weapon sales and how that's a thriving manufacturing sector and a thriving export that the U.S. is now known for around the world. But in terms of real manufacturing of what people need and what's needed for this planet to deal with the climate crisis, we are certainly not the world's leader when it comes to manufacturing those kinds of things.
Right.
We're the leader in manufacturing consent in America, which is nice.
Yeah, that is true.
We are very good at doing that.
One of the many things that jumped out was fairly early on in the speech tonight. Biden said, I ran for president so things would fundamentally change. And I think that's a great example where, speaking to tens of millions of people, where the status quo is understood to be unacceptable for most people, he's saying that he ran so things would fundamentally change. And we know that he didn't know that he would be actually quoted and exposed to have said it, but he told funders, big funders, when he was running for president in 2020, that nothing would fundamentally change, and that was the goal of his campaign.